Bitcoin since Liberation Day or has been outperforming Nasdaq by 12.5%.
Bitcoin reclaiming $90,000 for the first time since early March.
Bitcoin. Most people think Bitcoin's next move depends on its price, the charts, or the news headlines. But the real story is what just got recently announced. Because a brand new multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin acquisition vehicle is being built as we speak. One that's bigger, faster, and backed by some of the biggest players in crypto and finance. And when it starts scooping up Bitcoin at scale, it's going to trigger one of the biggest supply shocks that we've seen in Bitcoin's history. So if you're paying close attention, then you know that this might be the last opportunity to get in before the market starts to go up. Now let's uncover what is going on, guys. So the most powerful Bitcoin cartel in history and why you should act fast, because this is going to absolutely change everything. So a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Michael Saylor wrote history with his Bitcoin strategic reserve play. Here you see Michael Saylor. He's the CEO of a company called Microstrategy. Not that long ago, they rebranded from Microstrategy to Strategy. Why? Because 4 to 5 years ago, they made a big analysis with, what are we going to put our cash in? Are we going to buy bonds, real estate, stocks, gold? And based on their analysis of the market, they came to one conclusion, and it was quite evident, that the best thing that they could allocate their excess liquidity, their excess money to, was Bitcoin, because there was no other asset out there which could generate such great returns as Bitcoin. So they decided to go all in on Bitcoin, and they adopted a Bitcoin strategic reserve play, meaning that they would going to allocate a big chunk of their treasury, actually all of their excess cash, into Bitcoin. And they rebranded this year to Strategy to signal to the rest of the world that they have only one strategy. And their strategy is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. They want to go all in. And they have been coming up with many different financial instruments. Of course, you have MicroStrategy stock, but you also have Strive preferred stock, which is a perpetual preferred stock offering. Basically, to not bore you with any of the financial details, to keep it simple, they have been coming up with many different financial instruments to either raise money through equity or to raise money through debt financing, and to come up with these different kinds of instruments that appeal to different segments of investors in the financial markets. And they have done that very successfully. They have raised tens of billions in the past few years. And as a result, they now are, I believe, the second biggest Bitcoin holder out there, just behind 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗶, the BlackRock spot ETF. And they keep on buying more Bitcoin every single month. But there is a new killer in town, guys. Could this be the MicroStrategy killer or the strategy killer? Because behind the scenes, a new super cartel is being formed between Tether. I'm pretty sure you know Tether. That's an issuing company behind USDT, the main stablecoin within the crypto space. SoftBank, which is a very large, very large VC. They invested in companies like many tech unicorns, also companies like WeWork. So they have invested tens of billions into these unicorns to make them grow even faster. All right, their goal is just to take a concept and to see how fast they can grow it if they invest billions into the company. And they really want to push the limits. So that's why, again, I believe this is a super cartel, because the extent to which this cartel has access to is almost unlimited. Then you have 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗋, which is a hedge fund, basically, which is ran by, which was previously ran by Howard Lutnick, which is also part of the Trump administration, the right-hand man of Trump right now, and Bitfinex, which is a crypto exchange. So these 4 titans of the financial industry have come together to form a new entity, and their sole mission is to dominate Bitcoin. Now, again, Tether from USDT, Bitfinex, the crypto exchange, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗋, crypto, which is a hedge fund, which is deeply connected within the crypto space and in in the Trump administration, and SoftBank, which is basically an investment company which made many large unicorn investments. So now I want to introduce you to 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗹. So 𝗗𝗗𝗃 is a Bitcoin payment visionary behind the company which is currently being formed. So here you see a headline of Bitcoin magazine, and they're saying 𝗗𝗃𝗃 is named the CEO of a new Bitcoin powerhouse called 21 Capital. And they're planning to launch with 42,000 Bitcoin in their reserve. So 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗃, interesting guy. So 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗃 is the CEO and founder of a company called Strike. And Strike is basically an app where you can very easily buy and sell Bitcoin. It's a very successful app. They are a significant player within the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you look them up, for example, on LinkedIn, here is what the description of the company Strike would be. So Strike is the global Bitcoin app. It's a simple, fast, and secure way to buy Bitcoin and to send money globally. Strike is available in 100 countries and territories, including the United States, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. So yeah, basically the whole point of Strike is, for many people, buying Bitcoin is complicated. But what they've done is they've created an app to make it easy and accessible for the average person to buy and sell Bitcoin. And that's the whole thing with emerging technologies. In the beginning, these emerging technologies like internet, phones, those kind of things are just for the tech enthusiasts, the academics, the early adopters. But for the average person, like the 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-olds, the non-super techy kind of people, these technologies can be very hard to understand. So there's a very big opportunity to simplify it. And that's what Strike has done, so 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗃's other company. But this video is not about Strike. Strike was already an existing company. That's not the most powerful Bitcoin cartel that I'm talking about in this video. The cartel that's currently being formed is called 21 Capital. Where might 21 come from? Well, of course, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, 21. So that's the hard cap of Bitcoin. So they're going to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. And Bitcoin is, of course, an asset, a truly scarce asset with a limited supply of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. And right now you're seeing an arms race between BlackRock, Microstrategy, even countries, publicly traded companies, pension funds, hedge funds. Everyone is just trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible while it is still affordable. And yes, right now Bitcoin is still hovering somewhere around, what is it? 100,000, just around $90,000, $100,000 per Bitcoin. Some might think that this is expensive. Others think it's super cheap. If you ask me, I believe Bitcoin right now is super cheap, even though we're already up so high. But the whole point is, what are you benchmarking it against? Bitcoin is a long-term investment, right? Bitcoin moves in these 4-year cycles. Within every 4-year cycle, you have about 3 good years and 1 bad year. We call that the bull market and the bear market. But if you're willing to hold on to Bitcoin over the long term, then the likelihood of it being much higher over the long term is very high. Why? Because there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. At the same time, central banks and governments are printing trillions out of thin air, meaning that the value of money is slowly eroding over time. And individuals, companies, even countries and institutions want to find a way to hedge themselves against that inflation. They don't want to see all of their purchasing power being eroded. So they're searching for real hard assets. That's why you're seeing that the value of gold right now is going up quite a lot, and Bitcoin will probably follow very soon. Now, let's continue talking about 21 Capital. So 21 Capital is a new Bitcoin acquisition monster. All right, so here you see a tweet by Peter Duan. He's saying Tether, SoftBank, Cantor Fitzgerald, Bitfinex, these financial heavyweights have just joined forces to create Microstrategy's next biggest rival. And hey, I really hope that this will actually become Microstrategy's next big rival, and that is not only their marketing slogan or their plan of attack, because honestly, if you are a Bitcoin holder, it's very beneficial that these large players are getting into the market. Why? Because with such limited supply of Bitcoin, if these large entities are buying up all of this Bitcoin, it means there will be less Bitcoin in circulation. And with increased demand and limited supply, it usually means that the price of Bitcoin tends to go up. So if we're talking about these big, bold price predictions that Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million per Bitcoin in the next 10 years, maybe if you'd ask me 5-6 years ago, I would say you're completely cuckoo. It's not going to happen. But with these large institutions that are coming into the market right now, that are pumping billions into the market, I'm starting to have the perspective that these big, bold price predictions are actually very realistic, and maybe they're even conservative, and in reality, they can go much higher. Because if you're actually studying what is going on in the market, you understand how much money is right now being pumped into the market and how many of these big guys are buying up Bitcoin behind the scenes. Hey, by the way, while you're watching this video, do me one quick favor. If you enjoy watching videos like this one, where I break down complex developments in the world of crypto, money, and finance into easily digestible bits and pieces so that anyone can understand it, then make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to make sense of everything that's going on so that you can position yourself for maximum profits. All right, my goal is to help as many of you to cross the finish line as possible. Now, let's continue. So what is the value proposition of 21 Capital? So 21's innovative strategies leverage Bitcoin to create unique investment opportunities, offering substantial upside potential. So, all right, these are the pillars. So Bitcoin exposure. Proceeds from financing will be used to fund strategic acquisitions of Bitcoin, a historically high-performing asset. And yeah, all right. So basically all the money that they're going to raise will go into Bitcoin. Then the second pillar is Bitcoin native operations. So 21's Bitcoin native operation structure is expected to result in significantly lower operating costs versus other Bitcoin treasury companies. Now, they're probably talking about Microstrategy. So basically they're saying they're going to be a very lean and optimized acquisition vehicle to keep the cost as low as possible and to acquire as much Bitcoin per share. And they're saying like, yeah, I mean, probably MicroStrategy is a little bit bulky and as a result has more cost. And that way you wouldn't get most out of all of the Bitcoin acquisitions that you're doing. So its ability to focus primarily on Bitcoin-centric metrics and Bitcoin-related operations differentiates the company from others in the space. So MicroStrategy still has a SaaS branch, a software as a service branch, because originally MicroStrategy started as a business intelligence platform and they still have customers within that vertical. And now recently they started to focus more heavily on acquiring Bitcoin, but they still have several business units. They have expensive offices, they have a lot of team members, whereas 21, they're saying that they're very lean, they don't have all of these overhead costs, and as a result can become much more efficient and effective in their mission. It's an attractive equity investment, so private investors in public equity investors will have the ability to benefit from any share price appreciation through an equity instrument priced at roughly 1 time the net asset value. That's just Wall Street jargon, guys. Basically, they're saying it's a proxy to the number of Bitcoin that the value of the company is approximately equivalent to how many assets they have under management. And the whole goal of this entity is to maximize the number of Bitcoin per share that every shareholder basically has. Now, ownership, so at closing, the company will be majority owned by Tether, Bitfinex, SoftBank. So those are the key players in this cartel. And it's going to offer investors the opportunity to gain exposure to Bitcoin through an instrument that is tradable on the public markets, right? So on the stock market. Now, here's 21's operational business plan. So they're going to accumulate Bitcoin. So 21 will deploy a Bitcoin accumulation and management strategy with the following mandates: to acquire Bitcoin, to actively manage those Bitcoin holdings. That could mean that maybe they trade Bitcoin. They can issue debt and equity securities for Bitcoin purchases and other operating expenses. So that's basically the MicroStrategy playbook. So creating all of these different financial instruments in order to raise more money. Then the second stage is 21's mission will be to accelerate Bitcoin adoption and Bitcoin literacy at both institutional and retail levels. And they're going to create, license, and produce modular educational content, branded video media, and they're going to act as the go-to partner for major conferences, Web3 firms, and fintech institutions. Okay. So yeah, basically through branding, education, and partnering, they want to establish themselves as an important player in the ecosystem. And then 21 expects to engage in a range of Bitcoin-related activities, including Bitcoin-related financial and advisory services, offering Bitcoin-related debt and equity structured products, and Bitcoin-related lending. And the last thing that we discuss over here, I think that's going to be a huge one. So Bitcoin lending. Right now, there's a lot of people sitting on a lot of Bitcoin, which has increased in value quite a lot. So they might be sitting on hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, even hundreds of millions. But the real diehard Bitcoin believers, they don't really want to sell their Bitcoin. But what banks and financial institutions are now starting to realize as an opportunity is that just like a real estate property, you can borrow money against the value of an asset. So why not allow these people to deposit Bitcoin and to allow them to borrow against the value of Bitcoin so they don't actually have to sell that Bitcoin in order to buy a house or to buy a car or to, exchange it for cash. Here is another diagram. So how does MicroStrategy compare to 21? So MicroStrategy is, according to them, not a pure play Bitcoin play. Why? Because what we mentioned before, MicroStrategy still has other business units, mainly in SaaS and business intelligence, whereas 21, their sole purpose is basically accumulating Bitcoin. Then they're saying that strategy is not a Bitcoin native operation because more than 20 years ago, more than 30 years ago, I believe even, MicroStrategy started as a business intelligence platform. So they haven't been built from the ground up to be Bitcoin native. They have just recently pivoted. And 21 is saying they're completely built up from the ground to be a Bitcoin native operation. So strategy already has some existing debt, whereas 21 has completely a fresh, clean slate. So they can borrow more money. They have good ratios. Debt collateralization. So strategy has already borrowed money against the value of their assets, whereas 21 didn't. So they can continue to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin. Insider ownership. So strategy was started more than 30 years ago, meaning that a lot of people bought in at a much lower valuation. And right now, people that are buying into MicroStrategy need to buy a share at a very high valuation. So with 21, you can get in early at a lower valuation, basically. Strategy has older business units, which also have some older KPIs. And it has a newer business unit, which is focused on accumulating Bitcoin. All in all, they have like slightly older and newer KPIs. But 21 Capital only has purpose-built KPIs, so meaning all of the KPIs, the key performance indicators within their organization, are tailored towards benchmarking how good they're doing with this Bitcoin strategic reserve strategy. So why does all of this matter? Well, right now, billions are flooding into the Bitcoin market, and there's less Bitcoin available by the day. In other words, supply is drying up while demand is exploding. And that generally means that the price of something will probably go up. It's now early 2025. Some believe that this could be the biggest bull market in history. Others believe that this might be a quiet year and that in 2026 we're going to see a big bull market. And other experts are saying that this might be the super cycle that everyone has waited for, because Bitcoin moved in these 4-year cycles, and because all of the adoption happening right now, this might be the moment where the cyclical nature of Bitcoin is being broken. And from now onwards, Bitcoin is going to behave like a FANG stock, like Facebook, Amazon, you name it. So they're just going to slowly appreciate over time instead of these massive bull markets and bear markets. I don't care which one you believe, but this to me is extremely bullish. Extremely bullish. Microstrategy has already gobbled up 500,000 Bitcoin. BlackRock has gobbled up 500,000 Bitcoin. Together, they own around 1 million Bitcoin. And they are two powerhouses, but there's many more. We have Metaplanet in Japan. We have pension funds. We have new Bitcoin acquisition vehicles entering the market. And these new acquisition vehicles, like 21, they're backed by some of the biggest players in crypto and in finance. These guys are sitting on billions. So I think the market right now is underestimating how much money can flow into Bitcoin right now. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Do you believe that Bitcoin is still on track for the biggest bull market in history this year, 2025? Type yes in the comments below if you believe that we're still on track, and type no if you believe, if you don't believe that. In any case, if you enjoyed watching this video, do me one quick favor, smash the like button, and if you haven't done so yet, also subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting regular videos just like this one to help you to make sense of everything that's going on in the market and to help you to maximize your profits in this crypto market. I will be by your side in the trenches, trying to help you to navigate through everything that's going on. And if you want my support, hit that subscribe button and I'll make sure to record 1 or 2 high quality videos to help you to get ahead of the curve. All right, hey, thanks for watching. Peace out. Take care. And I'll see you in the next one.